Mr. Calhoun, you had spent adequate time talking about the no-doc loans, and I think you articulated the problems with them. Do you think that the government had any role in those no-doc loans, or is that just sheer greedy capitalism?
I think the main role the government had was lifting up the rating agencies, because the rating agencies gave those no-doc loans a rating that created the arbitrage.
Okay. Just by point of differentiation from that point, I have an article here that talks about Countrywide and doing exactly what you're describing. There's also talks about the GSEs buying them straight from them. And I think that if the GSEs had not bought those things, I think when Countrywide began to choke on them in their portfolio, I suspect they'd have quit doing it. But I saw Mr. Franklin Raines make $29 million in 1 year cooking the books, doing things like this, and James Johnson before him, $100 million in 10 years. And they were doing Enron type stuff, which was says, cycle this stuff in faster, go get everything you can get. And so I suspect that the government had something to do with Countrywide's decisions to do that. Mr. Deutsch, is there a cost to consumers for a 30-year mortgage?
Absolutely. There's
what would that cost be?
It's simply an insurance payment cost. Is that if you as a consumer want to lock your rate in for 30 years, a financial institution of some kind has to be on the other side of that. They have to say if rates rise, effectively we're going to take a loss, and so we want an insurance payment for that.
Well, let me tell you the cost to me. When I bought my first house, it was a trailer house for $4,500. My next house was a townhouse, brand new, for $55,000 when I was about 30. They asked me 15 years or 30, and they didn't explain there's a difference. I mean, I had never considered that question at all. I could have afforded, it was $400 a month for my $55,000 over 30 years. I could have afforded the $485, but I didn't because I just said, well, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it. I sold my townhouse 15 years later for $55,000. I owed $55,000 still. I would have had it paid clear, so the cost of the 30-year mortgage to me was $55,000, cash in hand. And so when we're talking about this sacred product, there are instances where it's very costly to the consumer. Mr. Loving, are there products available in the financial market today that weren't available, say, back in 1970 or something? Financial products available to the consumer?
To the consumer, I'd say the products that were available then that are available today, but just been a greater utilization of the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage.
Are there investment mechanisms out there that couldn't have been dreamed about 4 or 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
I would say there could be, yes.
Yeah, when I look at the problem we got into, I can't dream of my banker back when I was borrowing $2,000 a year for my 4-H pigs and when I was 14. Can't dream of my banker having derivatives and stuff like that. I mean, am I correct, or maybe I was? Maybe I
think
wasn't.
From the community bank perspective, you're exactly correct. You know, derivatives, swaps, certainly we're not.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff moving just like this because computers make some things available, and then we as people can design things as long as there's a demand. And so I just see this tremendous demand out there in the private market, and we're being told that the 30-year fixed mortgage would go away. If the demand is that strong, I just can't visualize that with all the magnificent things we do for 1/4 of a basis point for 36 hours, that there wouldn't be some product developed out there. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I have trouble seeing it. I'm going to wrap up with the idea that is there private capital that will do what we consider to be government functions? And so I'll take one of the most explicit government functions, that's going into space, one giant step for mankind or whatever that deal was. Do you think that the private market could or would ever do that? Just a show of hands all together. Yes, no, raise no's, no's. Are those no's or yes? No, 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 no. So let the record reflect. Everybody says no. Well, let me tell you that the X Prize was set up to do just that.
Yes.
X Prize was set up. Yes. They're all yeses. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, the X Prize was set up because most people would think there's no way private capital would chase this because there's no investment return. And yet the X Prize put in 2 years, something that NASA has never done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Time of the gentleman.